I'm Dr. Amy Waterman, Director of the Transplant Research and Education Center at University of California, Los Angeles. Today I'm here to talk to you about our project, Our Kidney Story, a collaborative project with the Venice Family Clinic and multiple transplant centers around the city. How many of you have ever donated blood? Could I get a show of hands? Okay, good, lots of people in the room. Now, how many of you on your license say that you're a registered organ donor? You might have like a pink dot. Okay, great, a little less, but this is normal. I see this in every room I go in. And there are generous people everywhere. But how many of you have ever thought about giving a kidney while you're alive? Same generous people, right? Sometimes what I hear at this point is, well, I have to think about that. And this is where the start of this project is. So this is a solvable project. The thing that's amazing about organ donation is that there are 100,000 people waiting for a kidney transplant. And if 100,000 people raise their hand at this moment, we could eliminate the people waiting entirely. So that's exciting, but we're stuck. So there are right now 10,000 people who are asking for a kidney, die, or get removed from the kidney because they're too sick to receive one every year. Even though there's all these generous people who have their license and their pink dots. We also have a group of people who never come forward to ask and to get on the list to be waiting. And these are the patients at Venice Family Clinic and a lot of other places like that. These are people that don't speak English very well, who are not health literate, who don't have a car, they don't have private insurance. They don't even know that they can get a kidney, and they don't think that they can deserve one, and they think they're gonna live their life on dialysis, where a machine filters their blood. That is their reality. Now, if you don't think you get a transplant, well, it's okay, I can live on dialysis, right? Well, a person is only alive on dialysis. On average, 40% of all people on dialysis are alive after 5 years, and 85% are alive if they can get a living donor kidney transplant. So if I can help the people at Venice Family Clinic, patients like that across the country, we can make a difference for both that patient who now can feed again, has energy to be able to be with their family, and their family can relax and be joyous with them as they travel, as they not take them to dialysis every day, then what could be possible? The purpose of our project is to change the game. Because we're stuck, because patients are not even coming forward, using traditional patient education isn't enough anymore. We've got brochures, we've got videos, everyone knows. So what can we do differently to reach out and connect with these communities? And what we would like to propose through our project is that we would like to use storytelling. So stories from patients like me who lived this, who face these challenges, who are part of families that step forward and donors donate to them can make a difference. And they take someone like me who might not fully understand what they're going through entirely out of the way. We've designed digital technology that you can get on your smartphones, and anyone can tell their own personal stories. And we propose to bring this storytelling digital technology into the Venice Family Clinic. And in partnership with them, in partnership with their patients and donors, we want to bring the voices of this community out. Is it going to be in Spanish? It is, because 70% of people that are in Venice Family Clinic are speaking Spanish right now. We also have the ability to capture stories that are low cost, and people can do this at their home. So we are seeking $250,000 to launch a pilot program within Venice Family Clinic to use storytelling to raise awareness about kidney health and the opportunity of transplant for this community who are not coming forward at all. We are going to then link we're going to play the stories in every way that education can be disseminated, but now it's going to be storytelling education. We're going to link interested and inspired people to available education to their community of educators, and we are going to support the pipeline of patients from Venice Family Clinic to transplant to happen in California. Thank you.
4 minutes and 44 seconds. So I know this is a newer draft, like, I'm assuming yesterday draft,
This morning?
this morning draft. So I still think, it needs to be ironed out a bit, because again, there's so many components
Yep.
to the project that you guys are presenting. I think coming up with a fictitious patient to explain what happens when you have kidney disease or you need a transplant, what happens when you're on dialysis, because I don't know, I work in healthcare and I don't know off the top of my head what that life entails necessarily. So having somebody at the opening sort of, this is Maria, this is what her life is, she goes to Venice Family Clinic, she needs a kidney, she doesn't know it's an option. So you can explain, like what I mentioned, people remember the facts if you explain them through the story. So make up a story about a patient who would be in your pilot. And then explaining a little bit about what the technology is and that we know it works, because you say storytelling, digital technology, but I'm like, what is it?
Yep.
And I think if you just say, we know stories work to inform people and get them to move or make healthcare decisions or something like that that connects why it's a good use.
Great.
And then a couple of times you were speaking as the patient but saying stories by people like me, and it made me think that you had had a kidney transplant.
Right. Thank you.
So just kind of being aware of the language related to that.
You're motivated.
I wrote that down too.
Yeah.
I should just do it, but
Yeah.
that would solve the way to do it.
So those are some of the things. So I think just kind of like fleshing out all those different pieces and then slapping them together a little bit more. But I feel like the skeleton is in there.
Did the raising hands work? I was curious about that.
It took
All three of
time.
them?
It worked, but it took time. And I'm still, when listening to this thing, I really wasn't sure what your project was until the last couple of
We were talking about it
seconds.
yesterday.
And what's a living donor transplant? Why doesn't a patient who's on dialysis know that transplants are options? I mean, why isn't their physician saying, boy, I should put you on the list and things like that? So how can they come, why aren't they coming forward? I don't know why it's up to the patient to know this. It's not, if we already know they have chronic disease, we already know they're on dialysis. Why don't they know that they should be on the list?
The problem is not quite, the problem that we're facing is not quite clear.
I'm not sure what your goal is. What you're asking money for is some kind of video education about what?
Yeah.
And so we were sort of going back and forth a little bit, and I'll let you go.
And my question is kind of like, you send the video, so that's for the patient who is getting the kidney, right? But how am I gonna bring the other donor to come?
Yeah.
The patient and the family part, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
These are great. All these, it's good.
And you don't need to make the emphasis that 70% of the patient population speaks Spanish, because everybody knows that. Or it's LA, people are gonna be like, yep, the patient population speaks Spanish. Like, you don't need to go spend time talking about it.
Okay.
So just.
Well, we were talking about, does the name of the presentation, name of the project need to be in Spanish to honor that, is one of our discussions.
I would just do it. I mean, I like the idea of doing it in Spanish.
Yeah.
Laura,
But
can I ask
I'm
a
not-
question about
Yeah.
in relating to the, part of the problem though with this population is that the normal education specifically doesn't work because it's not in the right language and it's actually not starting from that cultural perspective.
So say it that way.
Okay.
But I still wasn't sure if it was targeting the donors, the living donors, or if it was targeting the
Yep.
recipients,
Yep.
or both.
That's great. These are great. All good, valid things.
You might want to use like a metaphor to crystallize the value. So you can say, this is a Tinder for organ donor. Or Facebook. I mean,
Not quite, but
people
yeah.
get it right away.
That's good.
That's true.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
because in talking to Rigo and everybody, it's like, they have brochures, they have things, transplant centers are ready to receive them, and these patients, and I don't know why.
Well,
They don't
that's-
ever
say that.
get into the
Yeah,
pipeline.
say that. Say part of this is we don't know why this isn't happening. So we're
Right.
going to try and you can say a multi-level intervention. It's a research fast pitch. You can say a multi-level
Okay,
intervention.
I didn't know.
And you can say that and say, we're going to target community clinic patient
Right.
and try and move the needle. And
Right.
and you can just say it very plainly like that.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.